Hello everyone, this is Toothy, and today I'm making a quick video going over a post behavior just released a few hours ago, containing several changes ahead of the 5.7.0 PTB, which should be released on Wednesday. To keep things simple, I'll be going over the changes for the first half of the video, and then go over my thoughts on them on the second half, just in case you only want to hear the changes, and that's it. First off, Hemorrhage is receiving a nerf from its PTB form. Instead of regressing the recovery progress while on the ground, it'll now only regress normal healing progress due to self-recovery being treated differently than a normal healing action. The most important of these changes is that Legion is receiving a base kit buff and several add-on changes to go with it. For starters, Feral Frenzy will no longer go on cooldown for performing a basic attack on a survivor, which has been extremely long overdue at this point. Frank's mixtape has now been buffed to contain both the effects of Frank's and Julie's mixtape, meaning that the actions of destroying breakable walls and generators while in Feral Frenzy will be increased by 30 and 20% respectively. Julie's mixtape has been reworked to instantly replenish the power gouge of Feral Frenzy when stunned by a pallet in Feral Frenzy. Stolen Sketchbook has been reworked to cause any survivors hit by a chain Feral Frenzy hit to drop their items. Stab Wound Study will now reveal the auras of those who complete a self-mend for 4 seconds. BFFs has been buffed to require half the tokens it needed to activate from 30 down to 15, making it easier to benefit from the 4% haste bonus outside of Feral Frenzy once all the generators have been completed. And finally, Etch Ruler is the last add-on to be changed, as it'll now afflict any survivor hit in Feral Frenzy with the Oblivious effect for 60 seconds, rather than when a survivor mends themselves. As an honorable mention, Ghostface will also be receiving some bug fixes to a few bugs that caused him to be unintentionally weaker on the PTB, meaning his stock range will be restored back to its former cap of 40 meters, and his reveal will be further adjusted to be closer to how it is right now on the live servers. So, with all these changes prepared for the release of 5.7.0 on Wednesday, here's what I think of it. These changes seem to be mostly alright, but I'm going to be mostly focusing on the Legion changes, as I have more to say about them, as Hemorrhage and Ghostface are kind of whatever for me. There's not really too much to cover with them. Legion finally receiving a change to no longer be penalized for performing a basic attack on a survivor outside of Feral Frenzy is long overdue, as it is one of the only changes I wanted to see to Legion's base kit after the PTB, as this was one of the most unnecessary drawbacks in the entire game. As for their add-ons, it isn't exactly what I would go for, but the changes do cover some of the complaints I had in my previous discussion video. To start off with this, Frank's mixtape's buff is nice, since it does combine two of the effects behind Frank's and Julie's mixtape, which means that, now you're going to benefit from the increased action speed of kicking out a breakable wall and a generator. But that isn't very useful though, since I don't really think there's a whole lot of situations where you're going to want to go out of your way to destroy an object while in Feral Frenzy. Perhaps one thing they could do to make this add-on a little bit more appealing outside of the one change they already did was to perhaps include a new benefit, which is that you can restore a little bit of your power gouge by destroying one of these objects, which I think could make this add-on a little bit more useful. Julie's mixtape received a pretty interesting change where once you get stunned while in Feral Frenzy, it'll instantly replenish your power, which is neat. I don't really think it's a great idea to reward someone for being stunned while in their power, since it defeats the whole purpose of stunning the killer in the first place. But this could definitely be a neat add-on for newer players at least. As for the Stolen Sketchbook rework, they've now changed this add-on to make it to where whenever a survivor gets hit by a chain Feral Frenzy, they'll drop their item, which I think is actually pretty neat. I don't know how useful this add-on will be, but I think this is a neat idea, and I want to see what happens with this, since there is a possibility that perhaps this may encourage people to run other perks like Hoarder with Legion, so that we can gain more information on the whereabouts of survivors, which could call for a neat loadout, especially if you change it with the Stab Wound Study change, which I'll actually get into now. With Stab Wound Study, this add-on change is actually pretty neat because this actually loosely resembles an idea that I had, which is that instead of causing a survivor to scream when you mend, which was my idea, your aura will be revealed for 4 seconds when completing a mend, which is neat. I like it. short and simple, and significantly more useful than before. As for BFFs, I think this add-on got the wrong change, because the problem to me wasn't that it required a lot of tokens to activate it, but rather that if you make an add-on that is based on the endgame, you're banking on losing all your generators, which means that, you have to build around an endgame build at that point, which is not a great idea in my opinion. Personally, I would have liked it a lot better if they removed the requirement of all the generators needing to be powered, and instead, the add-on would only be active once you have 30 tokens or more, which would have been the perfect change in my opinion, but it is still a buff, just not one I would have gone with. Finally, as for Etched Ruler, I think one change that needs to happen if Behavior wants to keep an Oblivious Effect add-on for Legion is they need to change Feral Frenzy to be similar to Doctor's Static Blast, where Oblivious Survivors aren't immune to the information that these powers provide. Because as of right now, the Oblivious Effect is a hindrance to Legion's power, because if you're Oblivious, you won't be revealed by Killer Instinct, which is bad. That basically means you're nerfing yourself by running this add-on. So I think that one simple change that they need to make is, if a survivor is oblivious, they should make it to where they are still revealed by Killer Instinct after they've mended. Which would be a nice, simple buff to Legion, and would allow for more add-ons to be useful on them, along with the fact that it would allow for more perks to be useful, like Hysteria. Overall, though, these are some great changes that Behavior's put out. I personally would have loved to have seen a change to Never Sleep Pills, as I believe that add-on may still prove to be problematic, but I can't really complain with what we got. These are almost the most amount of changes that I've seen from a PTB to live, and I would really love to see Behavior to continue this trend in using the feedback from their PTBs to deliver just as many, if not more, changes in the future. But that's all I have for right now, so what do you think of these changes? Tell me what you think about them below in the comments below, and if you enjoyed my video, consider subscribing or supporting me by checking out my other socials below. Other than that, thank you for watching.